Time Out, featuring special guest narrator Pinkie Pie. Wow. Those last 2 chapters were super dark and sad. I don't know about every pony else, but I need something fun to get that out of my head. I mean, first Star Swirl was like Twilight, you're a changeling queen, and Twilight was all no way, but she totally was. And then they went to go erase some lines in time or something, I didn't really follow what they meant. I usually like to color outside the timelines anyway. So anyway, they got there and then Queen Sparkle was all rawr. I am evil and a meanie who does mean things, but I'm also a victim of tragic circumstances, so you should feel bad for me, rawr, and she bit Twilight with that mind control poison stuff. But then Twilight was all no way, I'm Twilight Sparkle and I'm totally too badass for that, and she fought back against it. Then they hid in a big vault and Twilight was gonna use the element of magic, but it was like nuh-uh when she touched it, and then hey, when Star Swirl did so he used it instead of her. Meanwhile Twilight was talking to Queen Sparkle and saying that they should let them cast the spell and not kill them, because if they did it would mean that when something killed her it would kill her for real. But she was totally lying. So anyway, the 2 of them came home and Twilight was all sick and stuff from the changeling venom, so she went to the hospital. Star Swirl and Luna came to see her, and there was this awkward moment where Star Swirl was sorry because he euthanized her, although I don't know why, because she looks great for her age. Then she was like, yes, you dreamed about it in the future past and I already knew that. Twilight did this in Hard Reset too about the timeline where we slept together. Why do so many ponies dream recaps of major plot points, and then they kissed and made up and I was all ah. Then Azalea came to see Twilight and I was all squee, because even though Twilight hasn't known her very long, the 2 of them have been ultra totally into each other since they met and it's adorable, but then Azalea accidentally used the changeling venom to make Twilight tell her everything. And you know, everything is a lot. Like if I told you everything about a normal day for me you'd be all Pinkie, that's silly, or Pinkie, 30,000 danishes is way too many for 8 ponies, or Pinkie, that isn't even physically possible. But it was even worse cause Twilight was telling her everything about a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, and Azalea got all freaked out and ran away from her, even though before she had been all like, I care about you super a lot and I'll be there with you forever, and last time I checked 4 evers was way more than a couple of days. That's not even a 10th of 1 ever. Not nice, Azalea. Plus now Twilight is all angsty and stuff. And the worst part is that I never got to make a joke about anything being recursive. So it's a sour mood when all of my bestest friends come with me to pick up Twilight from the hospital wing of the castle the day she's getting out. Not the good lemon candy kind of sour either. She comes out with her travel bag like she's ready to come home with us, but she doesn't look as happy as some pony who beat up a giant bug monster should.
Twilight, dear, how are you feeling?
Asks Rarity.
Same as yesterday afternoon,
she says, which means she's still all mopey and cry-y like she was when we checked in on her before and she told us what she and Star Swirl did. I read the last 2 chapters myself though, and she so left out a lot of parts. Then she told us about the fight she had with Azalea, and Applejack was all mad because she had worked really hard picking her out just for Twilight, and she said that the 2 of them were going to have words. I hope that at least one of them is hortatory, or maybe tatterdemalion, because those are really neat words.
Are you sure that the last of the changeling venom is gone? I've never made any antidote for that before, I've only really practiced that when Mr. Mongoose and Mr. King Cobra get into arguments.
Says Fluttershy. Gasp. I just had the best idea ever.
I know,
I say.
Twilight Sparkle, I order you not to be mind-controlled anymore. Did that work?
Twilight blinks a few times and kind of tilts her head a bit like she always does when I use a best idea ever.
You know, I think it did work. Thanks Pinkie.
She says. More important, she smiles a little tiny bit, which was the real point anyway.
Anyway, Star Swirl wants a couple days to spend with Luna, and the worst of the time problem is solved. A little longer working through the math and we should have a way to tie up all the loose ends now that the big one's gone. I wanted to get it over with, but Celestia came by after you left and told me that she was ordering me to go home and get better first.
Wow. A princess order, that's also a mind control order? That's one doozy of an order.
Well, we'll certainly be glad to have you back,
says Rarity.
Remember that if you ever want to talk about things with Azalea, there's a whole gallon of ice cream in my freezer with your name on it.
There is. I didn't think they made Twilight Sparkle ice cream. I wonder if it really tastes like her, or it has little Twilight Sparkle pieces inside. Actually, that sounds kinda icky.
Hoo hoo, Twilight on vacation, finally. Your life has been way too low on hijinks these last few weeks, and those are the friendliest kind of jinx because they're always saying hi. You've been super unlucky lately, like all your hijinks have turned into a jinx. Do you think that's why you got stuck in the time loop? Have you been buying off-brand jinx?
No, Pinky, says Twilight.
Well don't,
I say.
Now, come on girls. We're going. Back to Ponyville.
I say as I jump out of the door of the train car.
Finally,
says Dashi.
Gotta tell you Pinky, I was getting kinda worried when you just trailed off mid-sentence back there and then didn't say anything the entire ride home. Silly Dashi. That was a scene transition.
Dashi rolls her eyes in that way that ponies always do when I'm right about something but they don't understand why.
Okay, Pinky. Sure it was.
Twilight looks really tired, so we can't have fun right away. I have just the solution, a pony, problem panacea party. There's so much I have to do to get ready though.
Twilight, in 2 nights we're having a PO Pro Pana party. A what?
She asks. Silly Twilight. Who hasn't heard of a PO Pro Pana party?
You'll get the invitation soon,
I say, and I run off. When I come to Twilight's library the next day, she's sitting around reading a book. This vacation she's on is starting to look suspiciously like a not vacation if you ask me. Gasp. In the corner. It's home run. She said she left him in the other timeline, but he made it back. This confirms my theory that Home Run is secretly from an alternate universe where Equestria is populated by sporting equipment and when he and his friends were thwarting the evil Empress walk off the elements of athletics tore a hole in space-time and he fell through it. Now he wields the element of strikeouts and travels the multiverse fighting evil and righting wrongs, hoping each time the next leap will be his leap home. The other girls will probably just say that Twilight bought a new baseball bat yesterday, but I like my theory better. I'm on to you, Home Run. Taking off the name we put on you before we gave you as a present to Twilight might have fooled the others, but not me. What was I doing here again?
Hi Twilight, can you tell me what I'm doing here?
I ask.
Well, you're carrying an envelope and wearing a shirt that says I just invited Twilight Sparkle to a party and all I got was this neato t-shirt and a party, so I'm going to take a wild guess and say you're inviting me to the party you mentioned yesterday,
says Twilight without glancing up from her book. That sort of keen deductive reasoning is why we let Twilight do most of the super hard thinky things. I have a ton of stuff I still need to do before tomorrow night, but something about Twilight's face makes me stop. I don't think she even knows that she's frowning a little and her eyes are just a bit less bright than they should be and all the other tiny things about her that just scream hug me, so that's just what I do.
Pinky, what's this for?
She asks.
I just wanted to,
I say.
Twilight, I'm super duper sorry about Azalea. I know you liked her. It's okay Pinky. I mean we only had one date.
Says Twilight. As if she could pretend she didn't have a super good time on that date and really wanted there to be more.
Maybe it'll work out. You're both my friends. I know my friends from A to Z and I think she's really sorry too. Although I can't be sure because even though I know her A to Z she still has 4 more letters after that.
Now Twilight looks really sad, and not just the general passive background kind of sad.
Do I want it to? When I really needed her, she just made everything worse. But you aren't gonna feel better if you don't talk to her. Even if it's just to tell her for sure you don't want to see her again and that she made you feel angry and hurt.
I say.
I know a lot of bad things have happened to you lately, but the Twilight Sparkle I love gets out there and happens right back at them.
I say. Twilight smiles, and even if it's kind of a sad one it's still a smile. Mission accomplished.
I'll see you at the party tomorrow, okay? Okie, Loki, dokie,
says Twilight, returning my hug with a quick squeeze. I love her to death, but Twilight has got to leave that kind of thing to us professionals. This party is going to be so great. The guests should be here any minute, only the best and most important ponies along with fun and games and streamers and everything. They're a knock on the door and I've never been so excited except for right before all my other parties, which means pretty much all the time.
Surprise!
I say as I open the door and see my 5 friends standing there.
Pinky, you told us about this party. It's all you've been talking about for 2 days.
Says Rarity.
Exactly. The last place any pony expects there to be a surprise party is at the party they're already going to. It's my own special party judo.
I say. They walk in, and take a look around the room. I hold out for as long as I can, which turns out to be just under a second and a half, before I have to show them the first party surprise.
Okay girls, let's get started. I came up with a brand new super special recipe for this party, and we're all gonna have some.
I say.
Let me guess, cookies?
Asks Rainbow Dash.
Nope.
I say.
Guess again, guess again. Some new sort of cake?
Asks Twilight. I can't contain myself any longer.
Nope. Shots?
I pull out a tray of tiny glasses from wherever it is that I pull anything out of. The others look a little taken aback.
Pinky, I don't know.
Says Twilight.
Just one. Then you can switch to whatever you want to drink for the rest of the night, and if you really don't want to that's okay too. I can fill a shot glass with root beer or something for you.
I say.
You know what? Why not?
Asks Twilight. She lifts up a glass with her magic and as she does the others reach for theirs too. Fluttershy looks down at hers.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Liver,
she says.
To the best party ever.
I say. We all clink our glasses together and down them. The others all cough and choke as they do.
Pinky, what are these?
Asks Applejack.
I came up with the recipe and I thought to myself, Pinky, what should you call something that makes ponies act all crazy, and do whatever you dare them to, and say things that they regret the next morning? And the answer was obvious. I call 'em changeling venoms.
Judging by the way Twilight starts hacking and coughing again when I say that, I just know she thinks the name is great, even though the rest of my friends are looking back and forth between me and her.
Pinky, don't you think that these might be a little tasteless?
Ask Rarity. I giggle.
I wish they were tasteless. They taste awful. That's why you have to shoot them.
I say. The girls start to chat with one another and I mingle with them for an hour or so. Twilight even takes a second shot of changeling venom and I'm a bit surprised. I figured she of all ponies would have stopped after one. Don't tell her I said this, but she's sort of a lightweight. There's another knock on the door from downstairs.
Yay! The rest of the guests are here. I thought it was just the 6 of us tonight. Who else did you ask to come?
Asks Applejack, but it'll be quicker if I don't answer and just bring up our other guests. I yank the door open and Star Swirl is there.
Hi Star Swirl. Hello, Pinky right? Princess Luna and Princess Celestia send their regrets, but they have to work.
He says. Someday I'll have both princesses cutting loose at one of my parties while they're both at full power. It'll be epic.
Welcome. Come in, we're just getting started.
I say. I lead him back upstairs to the party. Twilight is sitting by the drinks, and there's a third and a fourth empty shot glass hovering in the wobbly magic around her head. Uh-oh.
Star Swirl? Horse apples, I didn't just teleport us all to Canterlot, right?
She asks. She gets up onto her hooves unsteadily, and I wonder if I didn't make those changeling venoms a little too strong.
Twilight, are you okay?
Asks Star Swirl. She's managed to become the center of attention, and the Twilight I know always likes to stay just at the edge of attention when she's not being a super great leader, and right now she's not. I'm not so sure that shots were such a fun idea at all. In fact, none of this seems quite as fun as it did a minute ago.
I'm better than okay,
says Twilight.
Why wouldn't I be? Just because Azalea and I broke up? Pfft, like that matters. Who cares about a sweet, clever, snuggly, smart, funny, sexy mare like her? I would have hated to end up spending a blissful, wonderful lifetime with a filly like that.
She says. For some reason, I'm reminded about the stuff Rarity was explaining to me about subtext.
Don't deserve her anyway. You broke up with Azalea?
Asks Star Swirl. Twilight stops all of a sudden.
I should have dumped her the moment she said that I love her. I mean that she loves me. Who says that after one date? Crazy ponies, that's who. I'm not crazy, you know. I wouldn't actually do the kinds of things she thought I would. I don't know why I told her I would. Just because. Just because I saw. Hey, are there any more shots?
She asks.
Nope, all gone. Just water and soda left.
I say as I hide the shots still on my tray behind my back.
Well, get me whatever soda has the most alcohol in it, she says. Hey, know what sounds like fun? A game. Let's play How Long Can Twilight Lie Down on the Couch?
I say. Actually, that could be a really fun game with the right rules for tickling and other props, but tonight I just want Twilight not to do something she won't want to hear about tomorrow.
No, I wanna play something else,
says Twilight.
Let's play how many time loops. I'll name an atrocity, and you girls guess how many loops it took before I was willing to commit it. Closest without going over wins.
But she lets me lead her to the couch and lay her down on it. Our friends obviously know that this is shaping up to be my worst party ever. One of them turned down the music and the others have gathered around us. I take Twilight's hoof and when I do she grabs me and pulls me towards her.
I'm not her. You know that I'm not her, right?
She says.
Shh, you're you,
I say. Twilight still looks haunted.
Exactly, Pinky. That's what I'm afraid of.
With that Twilight lies down on my couch and closes her eyes. The rest of the girls look sad, but Star Swirl looks really angry.
Where does Azalea live?
He asks.
Easy there, Sugar Cube. No need for that. You want to have a nice, calm chat with her, talk to her when she's selling flowers in the market tomorrow.
Says Applejack.
Maybe I should take Twilight back to the library. I think she's had enough for one night.
He says. I can't argue with that.
I'm sorry, I just thought if she was with all of us she might feel better, but I messed everything up,
I say.
I'll come with you and help you tuck her in,
says Fluttershy.
Don't worry Pinky, this wasn't your fault.
But it was my party. Anything bad that happens at my party is at least a little itty bit my fault. The two of them leave carrying a very sad Twilight, and I sink to the floor.
It didn't work,
I say.
I really thought we could remind her of how everything could be good and fun again.
I say. Not only is Twilight all sad still but now I am too. I can't believe she'd act like that after a few drinks, she's usually so in control. Even though I made the shots, it's not like when I made up the recipe I secretly poured one shot to rule them all that would let me turn any pony who drank them unhappy.
Hey, if any party could fix Twilight, this Pinkie Pie party would have done it,
says Rainbow Dash.
Thanks Dashy,
I say. I really do appreciate her reassurance. Now I'll need to plan an even better sorry your last party wasn't so good party for Twilight. I thought this was supposed to be a light and funny breather chapter. This isn't what I signed on for. The next morning I go out to the market to buy some ingredients that the cakes say we're running low on. When I get there the very first thing I go to do is say hi to Applejack, but she's not in her usual spot. Instead, she set up a few rows down.
Hi Applejack,
I say as I walk up to her.
How come you're all the way over here today? Didn't want to set up so close to Azalea. The way Twi was hidden last night still has me a bit riled up, and it ain't a good idea for me to talk to her till I cool off a bit.
She says.
I'm really worried about Twilight,
I say.
Do you think we could find her a new mare friend? Of the 7,439 mares who live in Ponyville, 853 of them like fillies at least a little bit. How do you know it's exactly that many?
Asks Applejack. How do I know that? Oh yeah. A couple weeks ago Mayor Mare was giving a speech and said that the Hydra attack that had happened was a senseless act of violence, but I was thinking about balloons and not really listening, so I thought she said it was a senseless act of violence and I thought silly Mayor. You can't commit an act of violence with a census. But then I was like, or can you? And I went around for the next couple days asking every pony in town probing and embarrassing questions and sometimes watching them sleep. Then by the time I was all done I remembered that even if I could commit a census act of violence it probably wouldn't be very nice of me to do it.
Pinky? You there?
Asks Applejack. I look up at her.
If you were doing a Hydra census, would you have to count each head separately?
I ask. These are important questions.
I'm not really sure Sugar Cube,
she says. Before I can ask if she knows what a census act of violence is I happen to look over her shoulder.
Hey Applejack! You said a second ago that the smart thing to do when you're furious at a pony, is to not talk to them until you calm down a little bit, right?
I ask.
That's what I think, anyway,
she says.
And Star Swirl's pretty smart, right?
I ask.
Twi sure thinks so. I can't make head or hoof of what they say to each other half the time,
she says.
Then Star Swirl must not be furious anymore, because he's going to talk to Azalea right now.
Applejack turns and sees him going past us. Funny, he still looks pretty furious.
Should we go with him?
I ask.
No, I think we should stand back and watch the fireworks. Azalea's my friend and I don't want to say anything to her that I'll regret later, but I'd be a liar if I said I didn't want to see her get a little sass for the way she treated Twi,
says Applejack. Wow. There's going to be an argument and fireworks?
Maybe he just wants to buy a flower,
I point out.
I think we're gonna find out one way or the other,
says Applejack. Star Swirl stomps a hoof on the ground to get Azalea's attention, and whatever he's saying to her I can't make out most of it from here, but he must really want that flower. I've never heard of you just threw away your shot with the greatest mare you'll ever meet, you weak and stupid coward flower. They must not grow around here. I guess Azalea doesn't have what he's asking for and she must have really needed the sale because she's starting to cry. Then Star Swirl tells her she's missing out big time because in his experience mares who have the potential to become dark evil monsters are great in the sack. I'll have to remember that if Azalea and Twilight get back together there's going to be some crazy competition at the Ponyville track and field sack race next month. Now Azalea's blushing and crying at the same time. That's a neat trick, although a little sad too since, you know, crying. I guess Star Swirl knows he isn't going to get that flower he wanted, because he turns and stalks off. Applejack is watching him go and she looks a little mad. I don't think she expected him to want the flower that much, and she might feel a little guilty that she didn't do anything to stop him from making Azalea cry.
Pinky, stay here,
she says as she chases after him. Like that's really going to happen.
Hey, you!
Yells Applejack, does she know that I'm hiding out here in the bushes? Wow, she's good. I totally camouflaged myself and then I painted over the camouflage paint with another layer of it, so I'm double camouflaged.
What?
Asks Star Swirl, turning to face her.
Maybe I was out of line, but that mare can go buck herself. I won't apologize,
he says.
Azalea's my friend. Why did you say what Shaw did?
Asks Applejack.
Because she deserved it. She's just the most miserable. Ungrateful. She wouldn't know a good thing if it smacked her in the face,
says Star Swirl. Applejack raises a skeptical eyebrow.
Why do I think that by good thing you really mean Twilight Sparkle, Of course I do. Twilight? Do you even know what she was willing to do? She told me to run away and leave her to be tortured to death for decades to save all of you ponies. I wouldn't have done that. But then she gets back here and that arrogant brat just dismisses her because of what she might have done. As if the only things she might have done were awful ones,
says Star Swirl.
Seems like you're awfully fond of her. Are you sure you aren't sweet on Twilight?
Asks Applejack. Oh man, that would be a totally crazy plot twist if it's true.
Ew. No. I don't know. She's special, but not like that. She's smart, and she's so dedicated I want to strangle her sometimes, but when I see her hurting I just want to strangle whoever's making her feel that way. There's no word for it,
he says.
I can think of one,
says Applejack.
Family. She's family to you. Well, I wouldn't go that far,
mumbles Star Swirl.
Ain't nothing to be ashamed of, even if it ain't by blood. I feel the same way about her, and I reckon the rest of the girls do too. I didn't think any of you were related,
he says.
You ain't listening to me at all, are you? I don't know every little thing she's been through, though Lord knows Avi asked her to tell me. Then again, I suppose a mare deserves to keep her secrets. Avi seen her pushed way past what any pony's breaking point should be. Maybe she did do bad stuff, but I don't much care. I'd follow her to the end of the world if she asked. I wouldn't. I'd tell her she's insane. I bet you would. That what you said right before you followed her into a whole other universe?
She asks.
That was different. We were. Shut up.
He says. Applejack chuckles.
You know, Twilight told me a bit about you. Said you were a whiny, arrogant jerk of a pony, who'll never amount to anything unless he changes his attitude, but I think she was wrong. Oh yeah? What is it you think of me?
He asks.
I think you're a whiny, arrogant jerk of a pony, who just might turn out to be something special despite yourself,
says Applejack.
Try pulling your head out of your plot sometime. And stop treating ponies around you so awfully. You might be surprised at how many of them would like you if you gave them half a chance. Now I'm going back there to comfort Azalea, cause she's hidden over all this too. I don't know if they broke up for good or not, but I know she's a pony, with a good heart, or I wouldn't have set her up with Twi in the first place. Don't follow me.
Applejack walks off, leaving Star Swirl just sitting in the path for a minute before he turns and leaves the other way, towards Twilight's library. I'm totally going with him to see how Twilight's doing. I'm really good at being just the sneakiest pony ever, and he doesn't even realize I'm there until I pop out of the door of the library when he opens it.
Surprise!
I say.
Gah!
He shouts and staggers back.
Pinky? How did you get in there? I was following you after you talked with Applejack, and I saw that you were about to go into the library, and I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I popped out of there when you opened the door? And so I did, and it was,
I say.
But how did you actually get into the library?
He asks.
Silly pony. I just told you. Pay more attention next time.
I say. He just walks past me and into the library. Twilight is sitting at the table with her face flat against it with a steaming mug of coffee sitting next to her.
Twilight, you can't drink coffee through the surface of a table,
I say. She groans.
Pinky, please be quieter. I feel like I just had changeling eggs laid in my brain again. This might actually be worse.
She says.
Well, when you're up to it, you should take a look at this,
says Star Swirl. He brings the element of magic crown out of the guest room. I guess it's the second one, because Twilight brought hers back to Ponyville. Twilight's the only pony I know for who having something to think about makes her hangovers better instead of worse. She perks up and we both look at it.
Hey, I thought you said the jewel part was black. That looks a lot purplier than I thought it would.
I say.
The color's been shifting. What about yours?
He asks. Twilight walks up to her room and carries the other element of magic down to the table. I'm in the magicalest library ever.
Looks the same to me, yours is still a little darker,
says Twilight.
Yours matches your coat, just like ours. It must mean you're EMBFFs. Element of magic best friends forever.
I say.
I don't feel any interaction between the two of them,
says Star Swirl.
Do you think anything would happen if they touched?
He asks.
Oh my gosh. I totally know what would happen.
I say. Twilight and Star Swirl look over at me.
I bet there'd be a big magical explosion and you would swap bodies or something. And then you'd try to hide it from every pony else because obviously it's funnier that way, and you'd both have to go back to Canterlot to fix it for some reason. Then Star Swirl would look like Twilight and Princess Celestia would think he is Twilight, and she'd ask you for a friendship report and you'd have to make one up on the spot, but you'd have an epiphany about how amazing friendship really is. And while Star Swirl's doing that, Luna will find Twilight who looks like Star Swirl and she'll be all come to bed, lover, and Twilight would get to bang Luna again, and it would be super awesome, but you'd end up with all sorts of gender confusion issues because at this point I think you should just go ahead and try to collect all the different kinds of mental problems one pony can have. Plus then you and Azalea can make up, but she'll find out somehow and she'll be like, how could you? We were only taking a break, and Twilight would be all like, you're the one who left me. Then you two would start casting the spell to fix the rest of the time stuff, only you have to do it up in the sky for some reason, and while you two are casting it, Azalea and Luna would have a climactic sword fight on top of a zeppelin to win Twilight's love once and for all, and then Star Swirl is fatally wounded but he gets to tell Luna he loves her one more time. Then Twilight will be all, oh no, but time, and Azalea will reveal that she's been the real Star Swirl all along. Then our readers will be all like, I have no idea what's going on and I love it.
I gasp for breath. The rest of this story is going to be the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, we're not doing that,
says Star Swirl.
I'll put mine back somewhere safe,
says Twilight and levitates it upstairs to her room. Sorry guys, I tried.
We should do some more work on the math to collect all the little timelines that are still out there. The divergence won't be as great, but if there's enough of them they might create problems eventually,
says Star Swirl. They start to talk to one another and I don't think I'm gonna pay attention to that anymore. It's not fair, my idea was really good and neither of them wanted to do it. I walk out the library and they don't even notice, so I just sit on the steps. I don't wanna stay sad, and at least the time problem made her stop feeling like a fuddy-duddy stick in the muddy.
"Hi Pinkie Pie,"
says a voice from above.
"Derpy,"
I say. Finally, a mare whose thought process makes sense to me.
"What's up?" "I am,"
she says and we both laugh.
"Actually, some pony important said I needed to give a letter to Twilight. Is she in there?"
asks Derpy.
"Yeah, but she's doing time stuff with Star Swirl right now,"
I say.
"Perfect. That's who I'm supposed to tell her to pass it on to. Would you give it them?"
asks Derpy.
"Sure,"
I say.
"I'm always happy to help."
Derpy passes the envelope to me and flies onward, but when I turn it over the letter inside slips out. When I pick it up I can't help but read what's written on it. I walk back into the library.
"Twilight, Star Swirl, check out this letter,"
I say.
"What's it say?"
asks Twilight.
"It says that you and Star Swirl are going to go to the end of time,"
I say.
"It's a watch store in Canterlot. I guess something Star Swirl ordered came in,"
I say. Wait, what do you mean that was supposed to be the start of the next chapter? If I'd stopped right after the end of time it would have sounded like some kind of big deal cliffhanger. Hey. You were gonna do that on purpose. That's mean. I'm not gonna stick to the script if you're gonna write things like that, it's practically like lying. Well, fine, maybe I didn't want to be the narrator anymore anyway, you big jerky McJerkypants. I quit.